but I want to add some florals around on the frame. So first I'm going to do the fast cast resin, and then I'm going to also do some clay. I want to do a little bit of both. So first I'm going to show you guys the resin and what I do here. I use these little cups. That's it. And then this is one of Redesign With Prima's molds. This one is called Lily Flower. I love this one. So I'm just going to do this real quick and show you guys. So you got parts A and B of your resin. I'm going to add equal parts into the cup. I don't need much, so I'm only going to do about a ½ ounce of each. And then you're going to mix it really, really good. This part's really important because if you don't mix it well enough, it's not going to set correctly. And then you're going to feel it starting to get warm a little bit in the cup too. That means that the two parts are activating. And then you are just going to pour it into the mold. Now this one has some like pretty thin stems. So I'm probably going to end up making a little bit of a mess. But what I do with these really thin parts is I'm just going to kind of push the resin in there with my popsicle stick. That way I don't have to worry about making such a big mess with it. So what I'll do, I'm just going to kind of push the resin in there. I want to make sure that I add enough to be able to push it in there and it not take it from the other spot. Go. That's pretty good. So now I'm just going to let that completely set. So that's going to take about 10 minutes, but then we'll come back once it starts to harden. Alright, so you can see how it's turned white. And now you'll know that it's ready when you peel it out, and you'll see the edges pop off. So that's how you know when it's ready. I like to, especially with what I want to do right now, I like to pull them out when they're still pliable and you can feel they're still a little warm, because then I can cut them and I can make them form to whatever surface I want to put it on. So now these parts are really thin, so I want to be careful when I take this out. I don't want to pull and stretch those areas there. Now you can see it came out perfect. What I want to do here, it's going to go pretty much like right here, but I'm not going to be able to use the whole thing. So that's a thicker piece, so I don't mind having that hanging over. So I think what I'm going to do is cut. So I definitely want to cut this part here. So I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm just going to cut that piece off. Now, if you were to try to cut the resin when it's fully cured and it's hard, it's not going to be that simple. So that's another reason why you really want to do take them out when they're still a little pliable. And then I'm going to cut this flower off too. This leaf. Now it's getting a little bit harder to cut because it's getting harder. So that's about where I want it. Move you guys a little bit. So what I gotta do is, first I want to make sure that I don't have any of these little pieces hanging off. Just like these little bits. I'm going to go ahead and pick them all off. Now if your resin is really hard, you can get in there with a pair of scissors and you can cut it off. And if you want to soften up your resin, you can take a heat gun to it and it'll soften it up again. Okay, so I'm going to take my wood glue. So I'm going to be using Tite Bond Ultimate. I'm going to squeeze some wood glue out. I want to make sure that I don't put too much because then it's going to ooze out the sides and I don't want that to happen. Now, I don't know exactly which areas won't be stuck to the mirror frame itself, so I'm just going to put glue onto the whole thing and then I'll wipe it off once I have it in place. And then you're just going to press it down. And then you're going to let that dry. And then I'm going to show you guys what I do next because I want to come in and overlap over on here a little bit, and I got to do that with the paper clay. So I'll show you guys that in a minute. Okay, so you can see I put a piece of the cherry blossoms there. So now I'm going to do something in the middle here, but it's going to overlap slightly. So I'm not going to use resin for that. I'll have to use clay. That way it can really mold to the details and the edges of these two. So I'm going to use the DOS air dry clay. You can use the paper clay or Redesign With Prima modeling material. Any of them really work great. Some cornstarch. I want to stay with the wood glue. So what I'm going to do is dust the mold where I'm going to be doing the making the appliques. I want to dust it with the cornstarch. I'm going to use this one. And then I'm going to use this one. Make sure I get enough cornstarch on there, but not too much. I'm just gonna like tap out the excess a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna grab a clump of the clay. I'm going to just squish it a little bit, warm it up in my hands. Then I'm going to press it down into the design. And then I'm just going to kind of push off the excess. I want to make sure that my edges are clean. I want to have just a little bit of that stem down there. Okay. You flip it over. You're going to peel back the silicone. Okay. So now I have that design. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put some wood glue onto the back. Again, spread it around. Make sure you get those edges good. And then I'm going to carefully put it into place. And just try to get it on both the frame as well as onto that cherry blossom piece. Okay. Now I'm going to do the other piece. I'm going to have kind of come this way. Cornstarch works really well. And again, I just want to make sure that I get clean edges. Make sure that it's even in the middle. Flip it over and peel the silicone back. Again, I'm going to put the glue on the back. Okay. And then carefully put it into place. I really wanted to be careful not to have the clay hanging over the edge because the clay is a lot more brittle than the resin is. So I really didn't want that hanging over the edges to where it could just get broken, knocked off. Okay, so now I'm going to wait for that clay to dry.